What it is, what it do? You tuned into the Jose Morales podcast. I'm your host, Jose Morales, and we're back in the boxing ring on another solo episode. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about mind over matter, getting yourself convinced and you wanting it before anybody else. It's about you making your mind up that you want to change or you want to do something. And I'm going to share stories about things that I've seen in the gym, share stories of my personal life, things that I had to commit to myself first and mentally convince myself about things before I did them, or else it was never going to happen. And this is for, everyone that's out there that, you have those things in your head and you're having a hard time committing to them, and deep down inside you want to do them, but you haven't committed. So I think this will kind of maybe give you a little pointers, or maybe wake you up, or, maybe find extra motivation to get it done sooner. So, but before I do that, I just want to give you a little update of everything that's going on here with competition and everything. And I actually, the way this came about, that made me convince me to want to do it more. It's funny how everything happens. Like we shoot podcasts weekly, and Scott always asks me, "Hey, how do you come up with the hell you're going to talk about? How does this work? Like how do you get these ideas, or how do you know what you're going to say next?" And honestly, if you ask me now what I'm going to talk about next week, I don't know. Like, things happen in the gym, and when they happen, I'm like, you know what? That's a good life lesson. I'm gonna speak on that on the next podcast. So that's what happened with this one. I had this guy. I'm gonna call him. What should I call this guy? I'm gonna call him Kobe. And Kobe. Kobe's sister and I worked together at Olive Garden. So we worked together when I was a teenager, and I never knew her siblings. I only knew her. And when I was at the gym, this happened a little bit before COVID. So I'll say a couple years ago. She hits me up that her brother, she would like her brother to box because her brother she just needs that positive influence in her life and just get him on track. And that's all she said. This is via Instagram. And she brings him in one day, and I met him. And as soon as I meet him, the guy's tattooed everywhere. I mean, he's got tats in his face, everywhere. He's just tatted up. And as I'm talking to him, they start telling me his story that he was in. He was in prison for a few years. And he was gang affiliated, and he starts just giving me the lowdown on everything that's going on, that happened with him and where he's at now in life. So now he's on parole. And before anything, I stopped and I said, you know what, let's go for a walk. And I wanted to be with him alone and talk to him alone and kind of get familiar with how he feels and know that he's here because he wants to be here, and he's not here because his mom or his sister want him to be here. And because it seemed like just off the conversation that his sister really wanted him to be here. His mom didn't know too much of it, but his mom was just trusting in his sister and her daughter. And as I'm walking around the building with Kobe, and I take him for this walk, I just get familiar with his story and just get familiar with him and how he feels and what's going through his mind and his heart. And as I'm talking to him, he just says, "Oh yeah, I'm on parole," and he's like, "There's no way, I don't want to go back. That's just not me. I want to change my lifestyle. I just want to be here. I want to be that." And while he's telling me all these things, I'm hearing everything he's saying, and something inside me didn't feel like that was his honest answer. Like that wasn't it wasn't really sincere. That's not really what he meant. I didn't say that to him. I didn't say those exact words, but I'm like, are you, I just told him, like, you serious? You really want to change your life? He said, yeah. Now I kind of regret not like calling him out and be like, yo, I feel like you're lying. I hope you're not lying, but I feel like you're lying. But at the end of the day, everything always shows. At the end of the day, all lies come to light. And so they signed up, he's training, and I told him, this is what I expect from you. You're going to be coming 3 days a week. When you're here for those 3 days a week or whatever, I don't even remember how many days a week he had to be here. I think I told him to come every day, to be honest. And I'm like, I expect you to be here, spend time after, make some friends, practice after, hit the speed bag, shadow box, ask questions. If you need someone to hang out with afterwards, hit me up. Let's just get you out of the environment of what you are used to in your circle. And he said, yes. I no joke saw him in the gym 3 times, maybe 4 times within that first month. I didn't see him too much. And I always texted him. I hit him up. I even hit up his sister. I was like, hey, where's Kobe at? I haven't seen him, da-da-da. He was like, oh, da-da-da. He's this and that. Long story short, he was never really in the gym. And then he just disappeared. I never again saw him. And this past week, it was like a week, I hit up his sister and I was just curious. I'm like, man, I wonder what happened to Kobe. So I hit her up. I'm like, hey, how's Kobe doing? And then she's just like, man, fuck, he's back in prison. He's been locked up. I kind of lost touch ever since then. But he was on this podcast that he did where he's talking about his story. And she shared that with me. So when she shared that podcast with me, I heard it. It's about 40 minutes long. And he's just talking about him being in prison and talks about him getting on parole. He talked about being in boxing for the short time and how he was busy and how he had all the good qualities to change his life. I mean, they were there. He had the support system. And what happened was he went back to his neighborhood. He went back to his circle of friends that he had, ended up buying a gun, dirty on the street when you're on parole. Probably not supposed to have a gun. And long story short, he got caught up with some stuff and he ended up getting arrested again. Now he's back in prison. And that's where this kind of where it evolved for me. I was like, you know what, I should talk about that on a podcast and I'm pretty sure you guys all heard this before. Like, it doesn't matter how bad you want to lift somebody up, if they don't want to be lifted, it's not going to happen. You're not going to change them. You're not going to change their mentality. You're not going to do anything. If they do not want to do it, it's not going to happen. You have to really want to change, or whatever lifestyle that is that's bugging you, that you hear people say things about you. And sometimes hearing people say things to you makes you not want to do just that, just because they're saying it to you. You're like, oh, fuck this guy. I'm definitely not going to do that. And just because they said that to you, you're not going to do it. And this reminds me of a lot of, I think I shared this story when I left the gym. There was a 3-week period where I was looking for a job in the automotive world. And rewind, let me say 4 or 5 years prior to that, I really wanted to be successful. I really wanted to do things and and provide for my family. And I'm putting up quotation marks, those that are watching me, because I said that, but my actions didn't match that. And the reason why I say that is because I used me being undocumented as a reason for me to not be able to accomplish things. Like, for me to not pursue school, for me to not pursue being a fireman, for me to not pursue like a lot of things in my life. Boxing, I used my cop-out for that was, I'm not a U.S. citizen. And I let that be the reason for me to not do nothing. And someone said, oh, are you going to college for what? I'm not a U.S. citizen. If I get my degree, I can't do nothing with it. And that was just like my good cop-out for it. And it worked with everything. And when I finally changed my mentality and my mindset, that was not going to stop me, and that was not going to define me, is when things started really, really happening. So when I left the gym and I had no job and I wanted to change my career, and I really wanted to work on cars, but I had no automotive experience and I had no driver's license, the only thing that did not stop me was my mindset. I was convinced, in my head, I was convinced that I would work somewhere. I saw myself working on cars. I saw myself dressed like a technician. I looked in the mirror. When I closed my eyes laying in bed, I saw Jose dressed like a technician. I saw my uniform with my name like a tech would have, and I just pictured myself that. Way before I even did it. And for 3 weeks, I begged myself for a job in the automotive business. I went around automotive shop, kept begging and begging until I finally found a place that would hire me. And when that happened, I was a shop bitch, and I did all the shop work, dirty work, and I became little by little more and more. I got more and more educated in automotives and what's in the automotive world and what I needed to do basic R&R and move up from there. Where that eventually grew into more and more responsibilities, and I grew to what I am now because of that mindset that did not let me stop and say, hold on, Jose, you can't do that. And that right there all started, again, because I made myself believe that it could happen. I made myself believe that it could happen, and I told myself that it's gonna happen. No one told me, hey, Jose, you can get a job there, da da da. They were bugging me, da da da. No, I wanted to do it. It was me that wanted to do it. I was convinced. I wanted to do that. I'm gonna do that, and there was nothing in the way, nothing that was gonna get in the way of stopping me from accomplishing that, because my mindset was set. My mind was set on what I was gonna do. Once you got your mind made up on what you want to do, start with little achievable goals. I was listening to David Goggins the other day, and he was talking about when he was really big, he didn't go from really big to rip because he went into some crazy ass diets and workout plan one day to the other. He started with small achievable goals. He's like, I first got my fat ass and walked. He's like, I just started walking. And then I stopped drinking soda and I started doing this and I started doing that. That is a key for you to keep being consistent. Because if you're doing things and it's just too hard to achieve or too hard to maintain, you lose that motivation and then you lose that drive. And when you lose that drive, it's hard to get up and go in the next day because that drive keeps getting lower and lower. So start with small achievable goals and I can actually relate to this. My ass start doing things some days that I want to run like I used to run when I was competing. I want to do things like I was doing when I was competing. And then when I can't do them, I get all fucking mad at myself and I'm all hard on myself. And I also have to do that same thing. Start off with small achievable goals. I feel like we are taught to see things as if they're almost impossible to be accomplished. We are taught as kids to look at things and put things on a pedestal, like things that are like, oh man, I wish I could do that one day, or hopefully I can get close to doing that, or that'd be a dream if I did that. And we say these things, and the way we pronounce and say these things make a big difference on us and how we approach things subconsciously. And I think that's the first step to getting yourself to start believing in these things. Because how can you honestly believe in, oh, I'm gonna work there one day if you can't even envision that yet? And how does that vision become in your mind? How does that vision become a reality in your mind if it seems impossible? How? By the things you say, the little things you are saying to yourself and the conversation you hold when you talk about that. And let me explain this to you in a boxing perspective. One of the things that always happens when we're training, I always tell my boxers, don't become fans of the people, because you may spar somebody or you may compete against somebody or you may share a ring with somebody that you may have seen on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube. And when you see them so damn much on YouTube, on Instagram and all this, they seem superb. They seem like they're on a much higher level than you are. But the reality is, they are not on a much higher level than you are. They are not. But if you keep seeing that and you become that fan that I'm talking about, do not become that fan, you will be just that. You will go in the ring and you will act like a fan. You will admire them. You will sit there watching them kick your ass, literally front seat, front row, because they're punching your ass straight in the face. And this is where you have to eliminate that in real time, real life with this. And how do you see yourself, get yourself to believe in driving that Lexus car that you want, or I don't know, having that nice house that you want? You have to eliminate people that tell you you cannot do that. People that have that see those things hard for you to accomplish, that are telling you, you know what, Scotty, man, that'd be nice if you ever did that. Like that right there sounds crazy. To me, it sounds crazy because it's like, oh yeah, it'd be nice if you ever did that. If you, Hear that if you ever did that versus, you know what, I could totally see you doing that. You know what, I could see you doing that. There's a guy here, you just totally remind me, I'm gonna give him a shout out, Tony Doherty. Tony Doherty, off the chain dude. This guy is legit, just a good dude. I could say so many great things about him, but when I first took over the gym, when I first got here, this guy every day would tell me, every day, how amazing I was and how he sees me as a mayor. He said, you should run for mayor. You should run for mayor. Da, 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 da. And honestly, him believing me in me that much and telling me that every day, I started envisioning myself as a mayor. I started envisioning myself running for governor and shit. Like, out of fucking nowhere. I never thought about getting into politics, but he kept telling me that shit every day. You should run for mayor. You should run for mayor. Oh, vote for Jose. I can see that. I'll buy the shirt. He would say things like that all the time. But he constantly kept saying things like that to me that they started becoming a reality in my head first. In my head. So what that means is when I'm laying in bed, when I'm daydreaming, while I'm driving, listening to music, I'm like, okay, vote for Jose, 2022. That sounds kind of dope. I started envisioning these things. I started seeing these things. And that's when you start convincing your mind over matter, you start convincing your mind that is doable, that you're capable of doing it. And once you convince your mind that you're capable of doing all these things, you are unstoppable. Unstoppable, because there's nothing that is impossible to a mind that is strong and unbeatable. Nothing is. Nothing can stop it. And that is my tip to you on what you can do to start envisioning yourself doing big things. So if you want your circle of friends to be that way, you know how to become that, how that starts happening when you start leading by example. You start being that person that starts speaking things into existence into them. And it starts becoming contagious because they see that you got high hopes and you're pumping them up. Guess what they start doing? They're not gonna talk shit back to you. You're not gonna tell them, I can see you driving a Ferrari, and they're like, oh yeah, your broke ass gonna stay in a Honda. No, they're gonna start speaking things in existence to you. They're gonna start seeing you and talking like you. And they're gonna be pumping you up just as much as you are pumping them up. So let's be each other's friends, cheerleaders. Let's be those Tonys that I ran into, that Tony Doherty. Let's be more like Tony Doherty. Let's pump up our friends. And not just our friends, our family, our kids, our wife, our husbands. Let's pump them up. Let's let them know that it could be done. Quick little recap. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, like, share, review, leave a comment, send me a message, tell me what you think. And I'll go out there and be an evangelist. Go out there and spread good vibes, good energies, good news with everybody around you. Bring everyone's spirit up, and it'll be contagious. They're gonna bring yours up one day when you least expect it. The person next to you is gonna bring your spirit up. Have a killer Monday. I'll see you next Monday with another surprise guest. I hope you guys are enjoying the surprise guest. Last week's surprise guest, Dwight Taylor, brought some heat. And next week's is gonna be the same. I'm gonna keep hitting you guys with curveballs, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. So I'll catch you guys next Monday. I'm out. Deuces.